Evan, you had a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask this for Jean-Stéphane primarily, but I think that Darren and Alric could address this as well, and Kasumi too, which is here you take your Swiss crew, the three of you guys, and you come and move to Cleveland, and you're working outside of your culture in a place that's very strange, even for us who live here. And so what are the challenges for a filmmaker working outside of their native cultures? And then also, what are the opportunities and kind of creative, almost accidents that come from that? And I think that you guys probably had a very similar experience in London, and I assume you work all over the world. So you should let Jean-Stéphane first.
At the end, when we shoot the film, we had a mixed crew from a US crew, French crew, and Swiss crew. And a lot of people here helped us to make the film, so I was not alone. I mean, I made the scouting with you remember, Severin, I mean, a camera woman and an assistant during a few months, but at the end, the film was, I have a crew from France, US, and Switzerland.
But was it a challenge to work kind of outside of, because your last film was you made in Switzerland, and it was kind of like making it, you know, in your, you know, in your,
it's a long, I mean, it's a long story. You go step by step. It was my previous movie was a film which was a hit in Switzerland, and it gave me the opportunity to co-produce with France, and I made researches about finance during years, and then I was looking for a place and for a story, and so I travel all around the world in the financial world, in New York, in Washington, in London, looking for a story, and I found it here, so that's why I came, and then it was, you know, for documentaries you have stories that are local and at the same time universal, and it can work very well in your own country, in your own language, and you have subjects that are in the air and that are worldwide, but also located in a place. For example, Lucy Walker, Wasteland. She made a documentary about, she was running for the Oscar this year. It's about the biggest trash dump in Brazil, and a story about that. But then it became universal. And here I thought that the story was also universal because, you know, it's David against Goliath. It's about justice and injustice. So I thought it was a good story and powerful story. My previous film, it was about a film commission working in law and genetic engineering in Switzerland, and I was not expecting anything from to release the film in another country than Switzerland. And we worked during months before the release. I took my car and go everywhere. I made about 100 screenings before it comes out, just to spread the word. And then we had the opportunity to show the film inside the parliament, which was a joke. And then all the media came, and it was just a strange event, seeing parliamentarians watching themselves in the parliament. And then the day after, it was in the theaters. And we made, the first weekend we made 20 people in Geneva, but it stayed, finally we made 20,000 in Geneva, and it was all around Switzerland. But I was not expecting anything than festivals at the time for this film. For Cleveland it's different, it's in English, it was premiered in Cannes, we have a sales agent, it's completely different.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to add, you know, I think one of the things that you were asking about was what are the advantages of an international collaboration, and one of them is obviously the vision that you get, the perspective you get from being from another country and seeing things different, particularly with Japanese. The vision is completely different. I mean, your surroundings are different. The architecture is different. Your rooms are tiny, and if you look at ukiyo-e prints, for example, it's like, wow, why are they so parallel? All this parallel perspective and stuff like that. That's because those are the rooms. Those are your surroundings. And I think having, for example, a Japanese cinematographer on a set, or different roles, really provides a different visual language, for what you're doing. And speaking of language, I mean, again, Aardvark is not. I did not direct it, but my work. My goal is to do a film completely with no language, have absolutely no language, and that only the imagery. And one of the ways that I have been testing my audience is through the internet, and having clips on Vimeo and seeing who responds to what, and it's outstanding. It's I mean, on the one hand, we're sort of in a sort of a crisis of form, because with all this new technology, I mean, we're shooting with things we didn't even exist 10 years ago, and it's a crisis of form, of technology, and of how you get it to the audience. And for better or worse, the internet is a pretty amazing tool. So. And it transcends the borders. It always transcends the borders. So that's been a huge, huge tool.
Yeah, but I find that the internet brings together like-minded people. It's great for finding people who are predisposed to be interested in what you're doing. It's much less effective as broadening the audience.
I mean, I have an opposite result. I don't know why, but it sort of happened that way. I mean, if you get a little bit of notoriety on the internet, then everyone wants to see what you're doing, and then you get your bigger audience.
So they want to see it because other people are seeing it, not because they even know what it's about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, it's
yeah.
however you can get them. You just rope them in. And once they see it, then, oh, now I want to see what else you're going to do. Now I'm interested in all this other stuff you're doing. So, I don't know.
Lisa, did you want to add to that?
No, I just wanted to, because if you were asking also how it is to actually work in a crew, which is an international crew, I think that I've done that quite a lot, and I've also produced fiction feature films, and one of the first productions that I did was a Polish, Danish, French co-production, and this was before the wall came down. So that was a really good learning experience for me, but it was a hard one too, because we had a lot of miscommunication that we didn't even think about. So, for instance, just one little thing, we had arranged that the Polish crew would come to shoot in Denmark, and that they would bring all the key members of the crew, like the DOP and the chief gaffer, and so only they were bringing like 10 people. And then I would add up with the Danish crew. That was the agreement, and I did add up with the Danish crew so that the crew would be about 20 people, which is normal in Denmark. Only it's normal in Poland to have a 120-member crew at that point. So the DOP didn't want to touch the camera, the gaffer didn't want to touch the lamps, and we had a huge problem the first 2 days just getting the shoot to actually work. But of course, you also learn a lot from these experiences, and it is a lot of fun and it's very educating for you. I mean, on Burma Vijay, we learned a lot from the way the Burmese video journalists that provided material for the film worked, and they learned a lot from us. That up until the point that we were doing the film, they had only done news pieces that they were trying to get the various media to bring. After we made the film, and after they had seen how we worked with the creative documentary, they started doing that, and And while our film was getting, I think, the Grierson Award, they were getting the Gregory Peck Award for their. So, I mean, it is an interaction, and you do influence each other in a very, very sort of encouraging and inspirational way.
Yeah, we when we went into Rwanda, and I've actually, I need to apologize just to people who I've spoken to about the film, because I have misspoke many times where I've said, it was difficult going into a country that didn't really have a filmmaking infrastructure, but that's not true. They did have a filmmaking infrastructure, it just wasn't ours. It's like going somewhere and basically saying like, well, they don't speak English, but there's a certain amount of culture shock. I mean, it's certainly not moving from New York to Nebraska, and one of the beautiful things about our film is that we did move, gave access to these filmmakers, these great Rwandan filmmakers who, like I said, were assistants to assistants on other productions, to become heads of departments. And the American folks that we did bring with us, and Howard can talk about this as well, we brought our DP, we brought our sound person. Beyond that, it was pretty much volunteers. So, this was really, there were MacGyvers out there. We were building, building things, and we had French crew and Rwandese crew and American crew creating things we just couldn't afford because of the budget. It certainly wasn't a mission, like we were going in to teach people, but it really turned out to be this great, collaborative process, across cultures, across languages, that helped make this film.